Hi everyone, Magnus Grimeland here. I'm the founder and CEO of Antler. Very happy to be here today. Thank you to SLINGSHOT and Enterprise Singapore for having me here today. I'm going to share some stories and some learnings with you on building to win. Learnings from more than 50,000 founders we looked at and worked with to build a few hundred companies. And hopefully that will be useful for you as you pursue your own entrepreneurial journey. Quickly about myself, I think it's an interesting story of how you can really come from anywhere and do whatever you want to in this world. I grew up in the countryside in Norway in a small place called Holm outside of Sande. It's farm country. You can see it up in the left-hand corner of the screen there. Basically, from there I ended up going to Untitled College, which you also have here in Singapore. It's an international school in Wales. I was lucky to read about that school in the newspaper and wanted to go there when I was 12, but heard that you could really only get in when you're starting your high school. So I had to wait a few years, applied, was lucky to go there and meet people from all across the globe. It's one of the things I really recommend to all parents and all children and young people. Meet people from other countries. Experience. You will learn so much about the world, so much about people, and so much about driving change. So I was doing that at UWC. Then, as many people do, also here in Singapore and a lot of other countries, I joined the military after high school, spent some years in the Norwegian Navy SEALs. This was incredibly exciting, at the same time humbling. You learn a lot about mental resilience, a lot about what is required to do incredibly hard things that you thought you weren't able to accomplish in the first place. And it's just such a great kind of learning experience that I've taken with me also in my entrepreneurial journey. After the Navy SEALs, I was lucky to get accepted to Harvard, which was an exciting time. I was there 2003, 2007. And I started off doing economics, but ended up doing more and more engineering because I just got more and more captivated about the potential of technology. And at the time, we had some insane entrepreneurs coming out of the Harvard community, probably the most famous one being Facebook. In the early days, I remember knowing everyone on Facebook because it was my classmates and the people around us. Now I only know a few people on Facebook, but it was just incredibly exciting to see how a technology product can really grow from a small dorm room to influence the whole world. And everyone who's watching this has the possibility to do exactly that. After that, I spent some time in Africa building a development project. You can see the image in the middle there is us working with teaching first aid to people to literally help people die from diseases that can very easily be treated. And it was a very humbling experience to see the tremendous differences in the world. And I really do believe that innovation, growth, and entrepreneurship is what will solve some of the world's largest problems that we are facing. After that, I joined McKinsey, working with technology companies all across the globe, before coming to Asia and being part of building Stellora.com. I'm one of the co-founders there. And we built that out all across Southeast Asia, which is just a tremendous example of how you can scale something insanely fast from Singapore. There's hundreds of millions of customers, one of the fastest growing middle classes, technological adoption, which is faster than almost anywhere. But you need to be aware of the differences between the countries in the region. Obviously, building something out in Indonesia is quite different from Vietnam, quite different from Hong Kong, quite different from Singapore. You need to incorporate those learnings when you're scaling here. But when you can scale here, it can all happen incredibly, incredibly fast. Before, we ended up building Antler, which is some of the learnings I'm going to share with you today. So Antler, we built Antler out of Singapore in 2017. Since then, we really scaled it all across the globe. So in 3 years, we built about 14 offices across Europe, the US, Africa, Asia, Australia, where we work with exceptional people like yourself that is watching here right now, to build fast-growing tech companies that are solving important problems. We have evaluated more than 50,000 entrepreneurs. We've been lucky to work with more than 2,000 of them. And we built about 245 companies in the last 18 months. And there's some of those learnings I want to share with you today. These are some of the amazing people we've been able to work with all across the globe. It's just an incredible global talent pool if you look at the world the way we do it. So why now? Now it's literally the best time ever to build a new business. We, for the first time ever, live in a truly global world. COVID-19 has showed that in a bad way, but technology companies have shown that in a good way. So literally, if you build a company about 100 years ago, let's take, for example, the airline industry, it would take them more than 60 years to get 50 million customers. It took Pokemon Go about 14 days to get 50 million customers. And it's the same for B2B companies who are scaling through B2B SaaS sales methods. You can truly scale to the whole globe from anywhere, from Singapore, from Sydney, from Stockholm, from Nairobi, really anywhere in the world you can build billion-dollar businesses today, which is the first time ever you can do that in such a rapid manner. So that's number one. Number two, new technologies are scaling faster than ever and coming from labs into the real world. Artificial intelligence just a few years ago was a concept in sci-fi movies. Now you actually find it in a lot of businesses and a lot of consumer apps and a lot of deep tech research all across the globe. Same with blockchain, genome technology, IoT, nanotechnology, sensor technology. All of these things are really coming to the world at the same time. While in the past you'd see kind of 100 years or decades being influenced by one technological change, over the next decade we'll see 10 to 12 new technologies coming in and really disrupting every industry out there. And you all have the chance to be part of that disruption. So that's number two. Number three, low cost of building. For many years, it cost a tremendous amount of money to build a multinational company. On average, it would actually cost about $50 million to build a company that was addressing more than one market. Now, due to the cloud, due to rapid hardware prototyping, due to drop in supply chain costs, and a lot of other things, the cost of building a new business has gone down immensely, which means that you can actually go to the market rather rapidly with a new product, test it, and use the revenue from that to help scale your business. Obviously, on top of that, access to capital for early stage companies have increased a lot. So from a cost perspective, best time ever to start building. Number four, disruption. If you just look 60 years back in the past, you looked at the list of the world's 500 largest companies, that list had more or less looked the same for about 50 years. Now, if you become one of the world's largest companies, your average lifetime on the list of the 500 largest companies in the world has gone down to 12 years. So the big giants that we see there today, you might be the people who will disrupt that in the future. And that's happening now everywhere. We don't know who the future ones are going to be, but it might be you. Then, obviously, another big one is there's some tremendously large unsolved problems out there that entrepreneurs need to come out and solve. And that has always been important, but it's even more important now with COVID-19. So obviously, you've all seen images like this. Some of you have loved ones who have suffered. People are suffering all across the globe. Hundreds of millions of people have lost their jobs. At the same time, you've seen digitalization and innovation within certain industries developing faster than ever. There is a real need out there right now for exceptional people to go out and innovate. And you can actually benefit from venture capital companies having raised more capital than ever in 2020. So the capital is there. You are the talent. Now is the time to go out and build. Before, you were doing that for yourself, for your shareholders, for your customers. Now you have an obligation to go out there and innovate. This is our time to go out there. This is, that one happening in our generation where we all can go out there and be part of the path to recovery, build new jobs, innovate, solve real problems. So now is the time, now is the best time ever to build. So let me share some learnings to ensure that as you are pursuing your entrepreneurial journey and you're building something, you will succeed. We all want you to succeed. We have, evaluated 51,154 founders, probably more since we made this slide. We helped build about 245 companies the last 18 months. Our failure rate is incredibly low. Our companies tend to succeed. And I want to share with you some of the learnings for why that is the case, and ensure that you are not one of those entrepreneurs who fail for stupid reasons. I think this is true. Like 93% of startups fail more or less across the globe, but most of them fail because of very, very basic mistakes they're doing in the very early stages of building a business. And by eliminating those, you will succeed more often than not. And being a successful entrepreneur and building something truly impactful is one of the most meaningful things you can do in the world. So here are some of our learnings. So they're pretty basic. Number one, ensure that you hone your entrepreneurial skill set. You're not born an entrepreneur. It's something you develop. We have looked at tens of thousands of people, not only the people who have applied to be part of Antler and get our funding, but also looked at research from all across the globe. And there are really three things that stands out in an exceptional entrepreneurs. Three things you're not born with, but three things you can develop. Number one is a spike. Develop an area where you're better than most of the people. So develop your strength. Where does that start? Look at what you're really good at right now and develop that to become even better. So that's the spike. And it could be anything. It could be from being great at building a product. It could be that you walk into an elevator with 18 strangers, and when the elevator hits the bottom floor, you're friends with everyone, meaning you're great with people and you can sell. Or it could be any other thing. But find the spike. Founders are typically quite spiky individuals. Number two is drive. That is related to passion. So find something you're truly passionate about doing and work on that. The last part is grit. And this is incredibly important and often overlooked. That is, when you decided to do something, ensure that you complete it. Do everything you can to complete it. Have staying power. Don't jump from one thing to another. Spend real time figuring out what you should do and then complete it. That's grit. So that's what you need to work on to be a great founder. The second thing we've seen is when you have great founders, you got to build a really great team. Great teams are typically built with people who have different skill sets, come from diverse backgrounds, but they share a common set of values and a common mission. Incredibly important. And the third thing is then ensure that you're solving a real problem. Real problems are not that hard to come by. Ideas in general are easy to find. What you need to do is go out there and validate them. There are a lot of different ways to do that. The best way we've seen to validate a business model is actually to go out there and try and sell it. For example, Microsoft, the picture you see here on the screen, they sold their first piece of code and their first product before they'd written anything. And that's great validation. If you can sell the product before you even started building, that's great validation. If you have an amazing team working on a product that really makes sense, you will most of the case succeed. So focus in on those three things as you get going. A couple of other learnings. If you can get diversity in your team, it typically will help your success, whether that's gender diversity, national diversity, socioeconomic diversity, ethnic diversity, whatever it is. More diverse teams tend to do better. Second thing, front load. In the beginning when you build a business, it's only you there. It's only you. So if you spend an hour with your friends playing PlayStation or going to the beach instead of working on your business, nothing gets done. So it's so important in the beginning that you're incredibly focused on spending real time on getting your business off the ground. And I tell all entrepreneurs I work with is, hey, call all your friends, call your family, tell them, unfortunately, you don't have time to spend time with them anymore because now you're building a business. And if they want to spend time with you, they can do so, but only if they help you with building your business. And do that for a couple of years. Then after a while, you hire hundreds of people, thousands of people, and your time becomes less relevant if you hire the right people. Third one is hustle. When you build a business, nothing comes for free. You're going to get more no's than yeses. But once those yeses start coming, you will hit the pivot point where you actually have to then worry about scaling fast enough to reach all the demand that you have. And the fourth I talked about earlier is grit. Go in there, not as, this being a learning journey. I'm building a business to learn. It doesn't matter if I fail, etc., etc. I don't think that's the right mindset for an entrepreneur. You should go in there with a mindset that I'm going to succeed no matter what, and nobody's going to stop me. You need that mindset, and you see that in tremendous entrepreneurs. Look at, for example, Tesla and SpaceX. They blew up a bunch of rockets, almost ran out of money before they became successful. Tesla's almost gone bankrupt a number of times. A lot of entrepreneurs would have given up on the way. Ensure you are not one of them. So those are some additional learnings. So how can Antler help in this journey? Well, apply to us, and we will support you in putting together an exceptional team. We will work with you on helping to validate your business model. We'll invest in you, help create that early momentum, and then ensure that you get great other investors on board in subsequent rounds and really scale it to becoming a truly successful company. That's what we do. Also, if you're considering where you should do this, we're here with SLINGSHOT right now, and I truly do recommend Singapore as a place to come and build your business. More than $10 billion a year is being invested in venture capital in this region every year, and that's been grown tremendously. There's a number of unicorns that have been formed here just since 2012. Also, Singapore is ranked amongst the top 3 cities in the world for innovations and building companies. You're also at the cusp of 655 million customers across Southeast Asia, and pretty close to about 2 billion more. And there's tremendous support to kind of driving that growth across the region from here. So truly, truly recommend that. Now, when you have gotten started, you can be part of these amazing stories. These are just 3 companies that we've been very lucky to support. Not going to talk about every one of them, but Breathonics there on the right corner, Singapore-based company who've been doing lung cancer research for a long time. They adapted their research to be able to discover COVID through a 60-second breath test, 90% accuracy, growing incredibly fast out of hair. This could be you as an entrepreneur. Or the bottom left corner, PowerX, most advanced tech solution to reduce power usage in the home, backed by some tremendous entrepreneurs. We were lucky to work with them from the very beginning. And literally, they are saving the world and saving the environment by saving money. So if you are ready to pick up that manual, I would go out there and do it now. It's so incredibly important that exceptional people right now go out and innovate, create those new jobs, contribute to the economy. Diamonds are formed under intense pressure, so time for you to start to do that. If you're already doing it, I hope some of the learnings we had were helpful. If we can be helpful to you, apply to Antler at antler.co. But that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is that you get going on this incredible journey. The world needs you, and you need it. Life is too short to not go out there and innovate. Thanks a lot for listening to me.